So I pretty much started playing rugby because my brother had started rugby and I wanted to do everything he did because he was older than me. So I sort of went along with his age group, and he was 3 years up and got sort of pushed to the side, and I had to wait my turn. And then I sort of got into rugby and loved it, but also because they had the best penny sweets at my local rugby club. I used to love it. You know, you sort of go along and find 20p and get 25 penny sweets, you know. Don't worry about the maths, you know, you get your sweets and you're over the moon about it. So yeah, I loved going along every weekend, running around with mates, and you know, very lucky at my club. I'm still friends with 4 or 5 of the guys I play with from the age of sort of 7 or 8 years old, and my parents are still friends with, you know, the parents of those guys, which is pretty amazing. You know, 25 years on. So that was sort of my pathway in, just my local rugby club, and loved it. And then I guess, when did I think I was any good or I wanted to do it properly? It's a question you get asked a lot. I don't think you ever really know if you're any good or not until you sort of get to a stage where you're either trying to play for England under 18s or against some better players. But I think I started to really enjoy it at 15, 16, or 14, 15, 16. I was doing a lot of football at the time, but I always sort of would prioritise rugby. So if I had a game of rugby, I wouldn't really ever miss that. I would always miss the football, as well as trying to do the classic, you know, rugby in the morning, football afterwards. But yeah, I think there's a couple of times my mum just said, I'm not taking you down to that club or academy to train every week. It's too far and you can not do your schoolwork. And I didn't really argue it because I loved rugby so much, and I was like, well, as long as I can do my rugby, I'm happy with it. So I guess at that point I knew that my passion was probably more for rugby, and yeah, that's probably what brought me through. There's a couple of coaches who had a huge impact. When I was sort of 11 to 13, there was a coach called Richard Mitchell, who's now a headmaster, who at such a young age, he just got me to look at the game a bit differently. Just asked a few questions of me, probing questions, of which I still ask the academy guys at the club now who are 19. It was such a, I remember one question was, I kept kicking the ball, you know, from 30 or 40 yards out, and it was sort of going into touch. And he was like, are you kicking to touch because you want to get territory, or are you trying to keep the ball in so you get the ball back? And he made me just think about the game. Like, if every time you do a kick, what's the reason for doing it? And it's such a simple thing. But at that age, it got me thinking, like, oh, okay, do I want to keep the ball in so we either get it back or we force them out, or do I want to hit it into touch to get territory and slow the game down, etc. And I just remember that as a moment was really interesting. As well, it got me thinking about defensive stuff. So he was brilliant and it really inspired me at quite a key time. And then I guess when I got to 16 to 18, there was quite a legendary coach in Ian Smith, who was a Leicester coach, Leicester player. I did England under 21s, who just got me to understand about sort of preparation and a bit more about professionalism, really. Even though you were a school kid, he just got me to think a little bit, you know, ahead of that, and, you know, not make exactly the same decisions as everyone else my age, because I was looking to go to another level, really. And so my decision making had to be sharper and better, and you know, about me doing some extra, you know, weights or extra fitness or doing extra skills, because I wanted to be up here, and some of the kids I was playing, like teammates, schoolmates, you know, they weren't going to play rugby ever again. So he was really, really impactful there, and a brilliant coach, to be fair. Very lucky to have him. So those two particularly had a huge impact, and I still keep in touch with them to this day. I mean, Ian Smith is amazing. He sends me messages after victories or before big games, and he's still, you know, it's so inspiring with his words that it's quite amazing to get a message from him still. I think when you meet a brilliant teacher, we all remember, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the ADELE stuff in the last week or so, and, you know, whether it's a fix-up to make sure, you know, it's a surprise or not, you know, it's still amazing she's got that teacher who sticks with her, and we all know those teachers who've had a big impact. And in a rugby sense, those two were just incredible to me. And I think teachers naturally don't have maybe a psychology degree, but they understand how to work with kids and different personalities, and they're very good at that. And so I think it's quite a good learning curve for me. Is, you know, I want to help out the academy as much as possible, and the young guys, and I love seeing them do better and improve, and it's something I've always liked doing. And if I can help someone on their journey, you know, not to make the same mistakes I've made, then I've done something good. And I think those lessons I got from teachers are just, you know, brilliant life lessons, or helpful ways of how you communicate to people. You know, it's not just about telling them what to do, it's asking the questions. They either have to work it out or they have to think about it themselves. So yeah, I think I'm very lucky I had those two guys particularly, but there were other people as well, but those two really stood out in the rugby sense. I think when I was young, Christian Cullen was just this exciting player who you got glimpses of on grandstand now and again, or whatever, you know, rugby, what was it called then? John Inverdale did the old rugby program. He didn't get much, you know, no YouTube or that, but when you saw the All Blacks, you were like, wow, you knew about them. And Christian Cullen was just breathtaking. And I guess leading up to that sort of '99 World Cup, the '97 Lions had a big impact on me. Got the video, you know, you can, you know, say every word spoken in that video. But I think that '99 World Cup, and Christian Cullen was unbelievable leading into it. And there's obviously then they lost to the French, but he was just someone who was revered, and just his movement, the way he moved, stepped at such speed, was just phenomenal. So I really enjoyed him. I wouldn't say I play like him, but I enjoyed him in that sense. And then, you know, as you got into the 2001, 2002, it was a time when it was really, I was getting a lot more rugby. I think we got Sky or NTL at the time, so you got the British Lions in 2001, and Johnny was really up and coming. And then, you know, lead up to 2003, he was obviously the main man. So I think he then became this, as I was playing fly half a lot, a real sort of person who I think every kid in the country wanted to play like Johnny, and so every fly half was trying to, you know, kick like Johnny and pass like Johnny, and every coach wanted you to do everything that Johnny did. And he wasn't perfect looking back, but everyone just followed that model because he was the England fly half and he was the best and wanted to be like him. So he certainly shaped it in terms of that, you know, going out and practicing and kicking. Because if it hadn't been for him, you know, would I have practiced kicking as much? I don't know. Would I, you know, try to do certain types of kick that he did? Maybe not. And that had a big impact in helping me on my journey.